Good morning. Today we'll see about routing in mobile networks. We have already seen how routing happens in wired network. What are the challenges in routing in wired networks? Of course, in wired networks, all we are worried about is how to find a path between source to destination, how to choose the best path. We have seen various traditional routing algorithms such as shortest path, Digistra's algorithm or some cost effective algorithm. So in case of any routing algorithm, every route or every link will be provided with the cost. The cost could be any metric, that it could be the distance between two nodes, or it could be the time taken, or it could be relevant to any QoS parameters such as delay or reliability or throughput. So based on our application, we intend to choose the route that will optimize our need. For example, it could be shortest path or least delay path. But the challenge in wired network is much simpler when compared to that of the wireless network, because to an extent the path is stable unless the node becomes inactive or moves to some other network. The link is much stable in case of wired network. But when we consider the wireless network, the route tends to change very often because all the nodes are mobile nodes. So they keep changing network. So whenever a node changes its position, it is up to the routing algorithm to find some other node through which it can still be sent to the destination. So to an extent, it is not possible to act in a proactive manner as in case of wired network, though before sending a packet we can try to find a route. Then periodically route maintenance is must in case of wireless network. Now let's see about the wireless networks. So this is a wireless network. You can see there can always be some good link and there can be some weak link. What do I mean when I say as a good or weak link? Good link is a link through which I can be assured that my packet will reach a destination. A bad or a weak link is a link which might not help my packet to reach the destination. Could be because of interference, or could be because of the wireless characteristic of the network, or because of the frequent change in topology, or frequent change in the source and destination system themselves. So traditional routing algorithms, we know distance vector and link state are two basic algorithms. What is the motive of distance vector or link state algorithm? It is to discover the route between any source and destination and update all the routing tables in the entire internet network without any manual intervention. We have seen that in case of distance vector, there are periodic exchange of messages with all immediate neighbors about its own information. Suppose a particular node exists there. It is having different neighbors A, B, C, D. Yeah. So periodically this X will update its neighbor about the status of the route links it knows. And finally, it chooses the shortest path algorithm to update the routing table. In case of link state, there will be periodical notification of all routers about the current state of all physical links. Yes, every router in the internet network will be informed about the links of this node X. So either you inform all routers about your immediate links, or you inform the global routing scenario only to your neighbors, and your neighbors does the same thing, and eventually every router in the entire internet is getting updated. Both the algorithms does the same job but in a different way. That is how traditional routing algorithms work. What are the problems of traditional routing algorithm in case of incorporating it in a mobile network? As we know, it is the dynamicity of the topology, that is frequent change in the connection quality, and the nodes participating in routing. So the performance is limited in case of mobile system. So the periodic update of routing table itself will consume more energy. In case of fixed network, you need not worry about power, because we do have a fixed power source. But what about mobile system? Your energy keeps depleting. So you have to worry about your remaining battery power for sending every update message. You cannot afford to send many control messages. So we have to minimize the number of control messages. We do have limited bandwidth in case of mobile network. Say in some area you could have good connection. In some area you will not have that good connection. And most importantly, the links are asymmetric. That is, in case of wired networks, if you opt to take a route between X and Y. The intermediate nodes could be A and B and Y, and from Y to X it could take the same path from Y to B to A to X. But that's definitely not possible in wired networks, because the links are asymmetric. When you consider two nodes A and B, A to B the link will be very good. B to A the link will be bad because of the interference and so many other wireless characteristics. So when we design a routing algorithm exclusively for wireless network, we need to consider so many other factors apart from the traditional routing algorithm. So one such algorithm is DSDV, that is destination sequence distance vector. It is equivalence of our distance vector routing algorithm for wired networks. This DSDV algorithm uses a sequence number. When you transmit in wireless medium, everything is broadcast. There is nothing like unicast, because you don't have a guided medium. Whatever you transmit, all the nodes in the vicinity tend to listen to your transmission. So mostly you will be using broadcasting. And when in case of broadcasting, say X is transmitting to A. Yeah, if the message is heard by B and C, B will receive that message and will try to transmit to A. B will send it to some other system D, which will try to transmit it to A. So same packet A will receive multiple times from multiple other nodes and at different time slots. So every packet should have a unique sequence number, using which the destination or the intermediate node can opt to forward it or discard it as a duplicate packet. So always there are duplicate packets roaming in case of the mobile network. We'll see about dynamic source routing. It is yet another protocol, routing protocol, which is used for mobile networks. So in dynamic source routing, it follows the split routing into discovering a path and maintaining a path. So before transmitting a packet, you need to discover first if there is a path to the destination. If at all there is a path, then the second challenge is to maintain the path. Maintaining the path, if at all a node moves away from the network, you should find an alternate intermediate node to send it to the next hop. So what is discovering a path? Only if a path for sending packet to a certain destination is needed and no path is currently available, you will try to discover a new path. And second one is maintaining a path. Only when the path is in use, one has to make sure that it can be used continuously. If at all there is any movement, then you should maintain the path, but by replacing the intermediate node. in this case, there is no need of periodical update. That means number of control packets used for periodical update in DSDV protocol is much, whereas in dynamic source routing, it is very minimal. Coming to path discovery. So how was path discovery done? That is, from how to find a path between a source and destination. You need to broadcast a packet with destination address and unique ID. If a station receives that broadcast packet, then the station should handle that packet depending upon whether it is a destination or a intermediate node. If a station receives a broadcast packet and if it is the destination, then return the packet to the sender. Why return the packet to the sender? Saying that I am the destination and this is the path. If the packet has already been received earlier, if it is a duplicate packet, you just discard it because it is unavoidable to receive a duplicate packet in case of wireless network. Third one is if it is an intermediate node. Yes, so you append the address and again broadcast the packet. Suppose X is sending to some destination Y. A is receiving this packet. So A will update its own address in this path discovery packet and then will forward it to the next node. The next node B will also append its packet and then send it to Y, and Y is the destination. Now it knows that X packet from X has reached Y through A and B. Now this packet is being forwarded by Y to X, so that X stores the path as X, A, B and Y. How to optimize these things is how to limit the number of broadcasting. Always, if you know the maximum distance between source and destination, you can limit the broadcast, and you can also cache the address list with the help of the passing packet. Suppose X has a path to D. Yeah, A has attached its address, B has attached its address and then sent it to Y. Suppose A receives another path request message from some other node, say E. Yes, so A already knows a path to D, so it could have cached that information so that directly A itself can reply to node E rather than forwarding it to D and then D forwarding back to E. That's how optimizing this DS routing protocol can be done. And how to maintain the path. When an intermediate node tends to move away from the network, or there is discharge of battery power due to which the node gets switched off. So in that case, you need to find an alternate node for A or B to transmit the packet to Y. So that is how you need to maintain the path. Yes. So how it is done? It listens for the messages from data link layer, which is the layer 2, because in MAC protocol, always for accessing the media, you need to send some control messages. When you don't communicate in the MAC layer, that means you are not available, you have a weak battery power, or you don't have that communication capability. So for maintaining the path, you can either have explicit message, or the better thing would be to watch for the MAC link layer acknowledgements, and if your node is not communicating in the MAC layer, you can understand that the node is no more available in the network, and you can once again find a fresh path to the destination and transfer your packets. So in case of mobile network, there are hundreds of protocols. Just to get an idea or glimpse of what are all the other QoS metrics you can consider in case of wireless protocol, that is interference based routing, because the main challenge is interference. Suppose X is transmitting to Y, yeah, through A and B. If B has too much of interference from say E, F, G. Yeah, it's better to avoid transmitting through B and choose some other node so that this interference is very minimal. You can see here one routing from S1 to R1 is involving some nodes N1, N2, N3, N4. And from S2 to R2, it is involving nodes N5, N6, N7, N8, N9. You see, there is no interference at all. The nodes which are used for routing between S1 and R1 is not used for routing between S2 and R2. So in this way, while choosing the route itself, you can concentrate and choose the node so that you minimize the interference across the nodes. There are many examples of interface-based routing, such as leads, how to choose a node. It could be least interference routing or max mean residual capacity routing. That means based upon the remaining battery power of your node, least resistance routing, or depending upon your transmitting receiving capability, the capability of your antenna. All this are other routing protocols. Clustering ad hoc network. Clustering is a very good solution for many of the wireless routing problems. In case of clustering, you see you group nodes into cluster. Cluster mostly it is based on the geographical position of the nodes. You cluster these group of nodes. Normally, because for every cluster, it is difficult for every other node in different clusters to know about every other node. Say for in wired network, it is internetwork, so you can have some holistic information. But for say for example a node in this one cluster, it is difficult for it to this is some cluster 1, this is cluster 2, this is cluster 3. Yeah, you can see this particular cluster node, it cannot know the situation of a node in this while transmitting. Yes, so if a source is available in cluster 1, yeah, and destination is available in say cluster 2. Yeah, so in this case, for every cluster, we'll have a cluster leader elected. The cluster leader normally is a high capacity node with little extra battery power, with the little powerful antenna, so it can have different election algorithms for choosing the cluster head. So what is the responsibility of the cluster head? Every cluster head will keep track of all the nodes within its cluster. It knows what are all the nodes which are currently active. So irrespective of the communication needs, every cluster head keeps track of the details of all the nodes and caches the route to most of the nodes within its cluster. So if a node in cluster 1 needs to communicate with cluster 2, it can happen through the cluster heads, similar to router. Here the communication across clusters can happen through the cluster heads. So it is much easier when we go with the clustering approach in case of an ad hoc network, especially for performing routing. Thank you.